Greetings, warlords. Welcome to Saga Thursday, the show all about the skirmish miniatures game from Studio Tomahawk. I'm your host, Rodge. This is another monthly episode joined by Monty. How's it going, man?
It's going well here, Rodge. How about yourself?
Oh, good. So we are recording this New Year's Day, the morning, the night after,
Yes.
leisurely time. So
Whew.
our voices seem silkier and smoother than usual. We're recovering from
A little
night's,
bit. A little bit.
shenanigans. So, did you have a good New Year's?
I did. I was up way too late, and I didn't drink a lot, but I mixed a little bit. So, but I'm still up and moving.
All right, yeah. Mine was pretty good. Yeah, kept it pretty responsible this year, unlike last year. But lessons learned. So maybe next year, get a little wild again.
That's it. Fly too close to the sun.
So today we're going to be talking about ruses specifically. So we are bringing this up because if you're an eagle-eyed Adepticon tournament goer, so the rules pack probably isn't out by this recording here. It will be hopefully very, very soon. But if you looked at the tournament descriptions, they always say, mercenaries won't be used, no legendaries, no artifacts or whatever. There's a little blurb of stuff that isn't being used. And if you were eagle-eyed, you would notice that for Age of Hannibal and Alexander last year, it said no ruses were being used in that description, or they were part of that, little disclaimer there. But it is not on there this year because we are using ruses for Age of Hannibal and Alexander at Adepticon, but we are just going to use the generic ruses to start with. And we're gonna see how it goes. Monty, what do you think about?
I'm super excited. Right, seriously. We used them quite a bit when Age of Hannibal first dropped, and then somewhere along the line we kind of drifted away. So for preparation for today's show, I was kind of taking a look at the ruses, and I was like, "Wow, why did we? This is a nice little twist. It's not game breaking. It's just a fun little ad."
Once we got a little bit of news to share, and then we'll jump in maybe about why that is. So let's get going here. So a little bit of Saga news here. Well, first off, Monty, I'm wearing my new official Saga Thursday hat.
Nice.
So the logo is a little bigger here. It's very similar to the last one. So as a viewer, you'll be I'm not blaming you if you didn't notice, but it's a little off, a little bluish, kind of a dark navy tone to it. And this was a gift from a fan of the show, Miguel from Portugal.
Wow.
And so I actually recorded a Portugal spotlight with him. It's going to be coming out either next week or the week after. But he sent me this hat and a few other goodies, including a bottle of wine.
Wow.
That I enjoyed with my extended family on Christmas Day. So,
nice.
Yeah, thank you, Miguel. And if any viewers out there want to send some wine, get in touch with me. I'll get you the details for that. But excited about the new hat. And this is actually, he sent me two of them. So at some point, I'm going to give it away somehow, some way. Someone will get a Saga hat. But it's the old logo. Do you like the old logo better, Monty, or the new one?
Variety is the spice of life. I like the new one.
Oh, Monty.
No?
It's the first time we've disagreed on the show.
The very first.
The old one's got some chonk. The new one is too thin for my purposes. Which is just putting it on tournament JPEG images.
Fair.
I think it's easier to put the old one on there. Old one's got some chalk. Sad to see it go, but I'm still rocking it. And Yeah. Well, the old Saga Thursday hat was given to me by Andy Lyons. So he sent that one overseas as well. Okay. So there's a tradition of Europeans sending me Saga hats. So
I was wondering where the source was. Interesting.
Yeah. So if you go way back, it was the dude hat for a long time. So I still like that one. I'll wear that to Infinity tournaments and stuff like that. I just feel it's just a lucky hat. After all these years, it's become a little discolored, a little saturated,
sweat,
with, forehead greases and such. But all right, so that's the first bit of news. Next bit of news: Benelux Grand Melee, friend of the show, JP, the activation phase. They are doing their Grand Melee in May.
Nice.
It's like May 26th, if I can interpret the order of European dates. So it's just Age of Hannibal, Monty. What do you think about that?
I like that. I think that's. I think I know why they would make Age of kind of like winnow Age of Antiquity down to Hannibal. Hannibal doesn't quite get the love because they're not the new shiny. And I'm guessing the way the two books, Age of Alexander and Age of Hannibal, play together, that might be a reason to just do Hannibal specific. Plus, it's just going to be a blast.
Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I've kind of thought about doing kind of like a Punic War themed tournament,
Nice.
So it's just like the Hannibal side of the equation makes sense.
Yep.
Yeah, I'm all for limiting but just do whatever you want. You don't have to do stuff. So, and I can see like with Age of Chivalry and Crusades, Alex said it should be mixed or was intended to be, but I don't know. I think there's actually quite a distinct feel to chivalry, and just having a chivalry book.
Agree.
I think there's like 10 factions, that book it's more easily done. But so with just 6 factions, that's pretty interesting because you can really, well, if I face these guys, what am I going to do? If I face you only have to do that calculation 5 times,
right?
Versus 12 times or 50 times. If I don't know how many historical factions are out there for Age of Melee, where you're more like, how do I handle this play style? Right. But you can specifically, all right, this is the Numidian circus or something. What am I going to do versus the Iberians, the Romans? So I think that's cool. So check that out. Get over there. Europe. Now let's get going to our main topic.
Yep.
Which would be the delicious Ruses. I didn't center my graphic. All right, fix that right now. All right, so the Ruses came out in Age of Hannibal initially. They were carried forward to Age of Alexander. And as far as I can tell, the rules are identical. No changes were made. So these are cards. You could just like write it down on a piece of paper. But generally, is it locked in at? They recommend 1 point of ruses for every point in the game.
Yes.
I think, right?
Yep.
I don't think that's a hard rule though. So
right.
You can
recommended.
And these are optional. You can play. So, So you're saying when you first came out, you were using these, and you could see like, all right, this is how this age works, kind of deal. But I'm guessing probably the extra like list building element was probably like not welcome. Actually, it's a little anti-Saga, I would say, where you have to. Yeah, it's list building, planning ahead of time which ones you're going to use. I don't know. You think that was the case, or if you had to come up with a reason, or
that's a good point. I suppose the chrome, the static, the extra effort, getting the lists or getting the ruses themselves, not hard at all. Like just if you can, to me, print it out on a color printer, clip them, put them in your little sleeves. Boom, you've got your deck. But then I will say, and I'm thinking back to when we used them. I like to go for volume, and I'd have all the cards in front of me, and we start playing.
6, yeah.
Right,
Yeah.
and the game ends, and I look, and I'm like, good Lord, I didn't use this one, and I forgot about that one. And so it's just, it was just a little extra fun, but also a little bit of extra static. So it did seem to fall
extra
away.
load. And the Hannibal Alexander's that has extra load with those battle boards, anyways, with the additional mechanics and nuance of the different abilities and maniples, contingents, and phalanxes, and all that extra stuff. So that makes sense. So we'll go through the ruses here, and then the different kinds, and then we are going to reveal our choices for if we were going to Adepticon, and what ruses we would take for our forces. So first up are the recruitment ruses. So these ones, there are no generic ruses, because these ones are actually pretty cool. These are kind of like, if you actually look at these, are kind of like old friends, new enemies, almost in that vein. So like for the Iberians, you take one and you're running Monty's Celtiberian force. So I think the Thracian, I don't know, there's like different kingdoms and stuff represented, so it is kind of old friends, new enemy feels, so for Carthaginians, Army of Xanthippus, is a really specific moment after the First Punic War. And, kind of just changes your troop choices and stuff like that, or sometimes there's special rules with those troops, but those are pretty cool, actually. I'm kind of, for the most part, I think those seem pretty fair. You're just getting some additional options, so some could be, I don't know, I was thinking of activation phase, when they at the end of each of their Alexander Hannibal faction reviews, where they would talk about the ruses. And I guess in my mind, there was only 2 camps. This one is, you would never take this, or you would always take this, it seemed like. But I don't know, I was just kind of looking at them. It seemed a little more nuanced than that. But for the most part, I think these recruitment ruses are pretty cool. So basically, you will reveal your recruitment ruse basically at the start of the game, when you are, I would say when you're deploying your troops, probably, because you're going to have to explain why you have a unit that isn't actually legal to take normally, or something like that. So I think when you deploy your troops is when you'll reveal that. If we go down to preparation, so these ones are played typically before the game. Each one will say when it's used specifically. So start of the game, after terrain has been set up, once deployment is finished. So the first player, I guess you probably just speak up when you're going to be using these rules. It says alternate, if they happen at the same step. So it's on the first player, I guess. You could be really hyper technical, but I think, just speak up when you're going to pop that preparation ruse. So these ones are pretty interesting. So I think the generic ones are fine, but looking at the unique ruses, so every faction has its own 6 individual unique ruses, and the preparation ones, I thought those actually probably, when they were talking about janky ones that were overpowered, I kind of felt that the unique preparation ruses were all pretty wild, removing terrain pieces or adding them or something like that. So these generic ones will do that, but I think in a fair way, versus Monty, why don't you hit us with the veterans and how those works?
Right. The veteran cards are interesting because you assign them to a unit. They give your unit a special ability. I think it's a limit of 1 card per unit, so you can't like give 2 or 3 veteran qualities, special ruses to a single unit. Here's where, like, again, it all comes down to approach in these games. But when I would look at the veteran cards, and then I know that the cards have a little bit of a cost, and the cost is when that unit is on the table, it is going to count as a mercenary for your losses. So, like, if you use, what is it, half
so just
the figures?
victory points.
Yeah, victory points.
So if the unit is taken down to half strength during the game, it's going to score 1 extra point.
Exactly. And then if it's eliminated entirely, that's an extra point.
Yeah, and so the other thing too, you can't give these to mercenary units unless the card specifically allows that. And that's a good point. So you can take as many veteran ruses as you want, as many preparation ruses. You can only take 1 recruitment ruse, so I should have mentioned that. It's hyper specific themed army, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, these ones are like ongoing abilities that are kind of special rules essentially that you're giving to these troops. Such as they don't suffer fatigue when friendly units are eliminated or stuff like that. So those ones are pretty tasty though. Mm-hmm. Ongoing ability. You could end up using it 5, 6, 7, 10 times in a game. If they're like melee focused.
Yep.
So there are some good ones in there. Yeah. Finally, last are stratagems, and so the recruitment ruse would be revealed when you're deploying your troops. Preparation are revealed during deploying of terrain or the first turn or deploying your troops. The veterans are revealed when you are deploying that unit. Put down your little card. So the stratagems are actually revealed the first turn. So I think this one actually needs a little clarification, because you could assume that you hold on to these stratagem cards and they are secret throughout the game and you only reveal them, so there's like an activation reaction, I think, for the Carthaginian unique one. So, it's make a move during your opponent's turn or something like that. So you don't actually, that's not secret, you're not psych, laying it out there and scooting off. There isn't anything like that really for the generic stuff, but it's open information. So if you have that Carthaginian unique ruse for the activation reaction, your opponent will know that you have that. So you play them, you put them down the first turn, and you trigger them, at some point during the game. And some of them are only first turn only, or are very specific. So I think that's worthy. Just that point, I think, in and of itself is worth dedicating an episode to this, because I think when I played them, that's not how we did it, because we just assumed. So I think that's a fairer way to do it. You could see if you just activation react at a key moment, they could really have a very large impact on the battle. Of course, if you and your opponent agree, you could both play them secretly.
Yep.
And so this is an interesting point for events. So I think for Adepticon, we're just going to have the ruses, all the ruses be open information from the start of the game. So you don't even wait until the first turn, or when you deploy the units, or when you trigger those preparation ones, because it's not quite. I don't think this is in a bad spirit, but if you play somebody, and then your buddy plays them, of course you may have already just mentioned facts about your game.
Yep.
And we were like, one of these is like add a piece of terrain. Okay. So if you don't know that when you're setting up the terrain piece, that can have a huge impact. So you might have already mentioned to your buddy that, oh yeah, he had this ruse or whatever. But if you're by yourself and you don't have any friends at the event or whatever,
yep.
And you could see you have a group of guys or whatever, it's game 3, and they're all talking, and you're like, okay, so he has this, he's got this, be ready for this. In a good naturedly way.
Yeah.
So just eliminating that, even that little bit of waiting, and so I don't know. What do you think about that, Monty?
That is brilliant. I like that idea. The idea of the ruses, is to introduce a little bit of color to change things up for something fun. But also, since all the ruses are down on the table and both sides know what's coming, they at least something isn't going to happen and they'll be caught out. And that's fine. That's fine. They won't know exactly when it comes, though. That's the point, except for when you assign, say, your veteran card. Or maybe but I like it. I like that approach.
Yeah, I think that's the Saga way. I mean, you can see your opponent's battle board. You can see everything that they can do. So this fits the Saga way.
Yeah.
But if you're just doing a one-off, you guys have played each other, 20 times in a row or something, and you want to be more secret at, For one-off games, I don't think it needs to be open the way that I'm saying at the start of the game, going through everything that you can do. But for the event, I think that'd be the fairest way to run it. And you can have as many Strategem cards as you want, Monty. So for Adepticon, we're doing the 6 points worth for a 6-point army. So we are not allowing the unique ruses. So those recruitment ones are basically out the window.
Mm-hmm.
We're not allowing mercenaries this year. So anything having to do with a mercenary, it won't be in consideration. But I picked mine for Romans. So I'm not taking Romans, but these are the ruses. If I was playing Republican Romans, these are the ruses I would take. And what army did you choose, Monty?
So I theme mine around my old favorite, the Iberians.
Okay, cool. So let's go. Honey, I've been talking a while. Why don't you do yours first, and we'll kind of dig into these maybe a little bit more than what we've planned. But so did you take any of the preparation ruses?
I did. I took 2 of them, and I have to tell you, my approach with ruses, and again, there's no wrong approach, but my approach is I look at each point of a ruse as far as the benefit. And so right at the gate, I found myself doing something that I did back in, years ago, and we use these all the time. I feel like I like to have lots of 1 and 2 point ruses for multiple small chances to kind of get a little advantage or change something up rather than 2, 3 point, big hitters. I like multiple small chances.
That opportunity cost. Bonnie can't get over it. Good, yeah. So that makes sense. So the preparation ruses frequently affect terrain in the first turn. So the Iberians, assuming really like terrain, Monty, is that the case?
Yeah, they've got 1. Sadly, it was nicked a little bit, but they have 1. Foot units can still charge out of terrain or move into training with one of the advanced abilities. So terrain is helpful. And certainly if you, as an Iberian, if you lean into we want to shoot at you a lot, then you probably want to tuck those slingers into terrain because they die pretty easily as, armor 3/3.
Mm-hmm. So which ones did you choose?
So I picked one. I want to plug this one because I think it's one of the best deals. And, you with the more, say, actuary and super good at math brain, you could tell me why I'm wrong because I'm kind of going seat of the pants. I picked Change of Formation. Use this card at the start of your first turn. Choose up to 2 friendly units. Their first activation this turn is free. And the reason why I think this is such a bargain, when I try to break out cost versus ruse, 2 units, the equivalent of 2 Saga dice for 1 point. That is awesome.
That's good. Yeah. So there's definitely, you could take a Saga efficiency approach and just focus on all the kind of activation type ways or doing, Saga dice. So they're not giving you any special rules per se, but you're squeezing out more activations, or you're avoiding fatigue, or you're re-rolling a saga die, to try, just make your machine run a little smoother. So I think that's a good one. I did look at that, so I didn't choose it, but so I looked at it because you think. And so, did you go back and look at So, Monty, you looked at the rules packet because you were proofreading it and stuff. So, those scenarios. So the first one, I'm not afraid to divulge. So the first one is basically violation or desecration, a variation of that. The second one is, I think there's 5 objectives. It's one of the Polish ones, forming a cross of objectives. That's the second scenario. And then the third one is hold the line, I believe. So you want to get troops in the middle of the board. So, I think that one's good. I should have chosen it. But you just think, if you think of the scenarios or something, what if you maneuver first? Then this one is wasted because you didn't.
Fair. That's fair. I was thinking broadly and not through the filter of the Adepticon scenarios. If I could just flip this for a second, my counterpoint on why I love this so much is if you want to take, in the preparation phase, there's a card where you could take a saga die out of your opponent's hand. It costs you 2 ruse points. So here I am. I'm getting 2 move activations out of 1 ruse point. It just seemed like such a good deal. I just had to take it. And then it means I can leave other dice set on my board, have a full board for non-movement activities.
I think it's good. So I didn't take any of the other I didn't take any preparation one. So what was the other one that you chose?
The other one is just as you called it. I did reconnaissance, where after the train is set up, before the first unit is deployed, I get to move a piece of terrain that hasn't already been moved. That can be so key. If someone builds, you move it S. You can take that fort that they built in hardcover and shift it 4 inches back or pull it 4 inches your way. I just love that for 2 ruse points, as the Iberians, I can do a little terrain shift.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. And I think just in general, if you think you're going to be playing a lot of Sarissa warbands or the phalanxes and stuff. So I looked at reconnaissance, and the other one was knowledge of the land, where you actually get to put down an additional piece of terrain. I thought about, as the Romans, you don't care one way or the other, but if you can force the fight into or around a woods against phalanxes or the Sarissas and stuff like that, it can make a big difference. But couldn't pull the trigger. The other one I was looking at was envelopment. Choose a unit of 6 figures or less and remove it from the table, and then it comes on during the opponent's, or comes on you can come on from any table edge. Hasn't been assigned to a player, so you can kind of come on from their back edge. So the Roman units are all smaller or something like that, so that's not a big deal that it's a small unit. So I was thinking that, coming on for desecration or something like that is actually really good.
Yep.
And then the other one, going for like their back objective, which is typically hard to get or contest or something like that. So I thought that was actually pretty good, but it was three costs to that one, and I don't know, I got distracted by some of the other ruses here, so ended up not going for that one. But those are the ones I considered as the Romans. All right, so let's move down to the veterans. Did you end up taking any of the veterans?
And I have to own my biases for this particular selection. I hate the idea of giving my opponent extra points. So every time I looked at the veteran things, I tried to think, will this ability outweigh the fact that I might be handing away extra points? 1 point would not be too hard to hand away, and it might even be 2 if my opponent really focuses on, say, wiping that unit out. So it's like cost benefit. So
and you have to think about what unit is going to be too.
Exactly.
For the Hearth Guards, the Hearthguards already have a target on their back, so
Exactly. So,
anyways, yep.
Nope, that's exactly right. So with that in mind, I went ahead and took a risk and I took Paragon. So here was my thinking. It would be put on my Warlord, and it says cannot be assigned to a unit of levies, so we're good. When this unit eliminates an enemy during a melee, remove 1 fatigue for every unit that is within M at the end of the melee. So the idea here is, number one, my Warlord generally is not going to be up in the front for turns 1, 2, maybe even turns 3. And so turns 4, 5, and 6, when the game's on the line, and my warband might be struggling with a little fatigue bomb, this is his chance to go in there and counterpunch someone, hopefully eliminate him on his dice and his board play, and clean up everyone who's basically 6 inches to the left, right. You've got a whole circle that you can clean up fatigue on.
Yeah, I also chose this one.
Okay. Yes.
Yeah, so this one is worth the cost. I mean, you think about the impact. This is like a massive impact, and this could happen multiple. You could do this 2 or 3 times in a game and specifically set up a charge. So I wouldn't. You could put on the Warlord. Warlord's a good choice because he's either eliminated or he's not, and generally you're pretty careful with the Warlord, typically. So I don't know. The Iberian Warlord, is he going to be hanging back? Is it pretty difficult to get him?
I want to. So honestly, with the Iberians, I want to be even more careful than I normally am. And I should say I have a second card I'm going to pair with the Warlord to kind of like. The point is, I'm in for a penny, in for a pound. I've got 2 cards to keep them going, and I would be extra careful with Iberians with my guerrilla ability. Like once he does this, I can pull him back, or I can shed his fatigue during my opponent's turn. But I still have to be careful here, more careful than usual, because the Iberians suffer from the fact that they don't have an activation pool. And so what happens is, as the game goes, they can fall into a death spiral, because when they get low on dice, there's no solution. And if my Warlord goes down, I've lost my Wheelbay, I've lost my determination, I've lost my Paragon, and I've thrown them an extra bonus point. So it's go big or go home.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I would give this to a unit of warriors, 6 or 8 warriors that they'll hang back, so they're not going to be the first wave, but then they'll be strategically delivered to eliminate that last 1 or 2 guys, and I'll have all my units around, usually with my extra moves and stuff, to get the most out of it. So that would be my plan with Paragon. Did you do any of the other ones? Any of the other veterans?
No, that was it. I kind of stopped there. There's a few others. There's some that I look at and I'm like, gosh, that just doesn't seem worth it. And that's why you skip on to something else. But Paragon was the only one I took. How about you?
So there's some efficiency you could go for here with the loyal. It's 3.
Yep.
You got to keep them very short of the Warlord. That's actually pretty tough to do, but you could get potentially 6 free activations out of that during the game with loyal. And then the faithful with the Hearthguards. So if you start with an S of your Warlord, you can just remove a fatigue. It doesn't count as a rest.
Right.
So you could see if you want to be aggressive with your Hearthguard. And I think there's a play that could be made, I think, with these ruses in the Roman Hearthguard, and kind of just throw them out as the first wave, instead of like holding them back, have them go out first and do some damage. And then with the ruses and the Roman abilities, just kind of say to your opponent, yeah, come on, see, you want to kill my Hearthguard? Yeah, come on. And if they don't take it, then, or if you're going for that, then it's faithful, just wiping the fatigues off your Hearthguard. If you're going to be aggressive with those, could be quite tasty.
Fair. What did you think of Charismatic General? You did not pick that, so I'm kind of curious.
Yeah, that one's another good efficiency play there. Start of your turn, your Warlord can take a fatigue if they're not exhausted. Choose a friendly unit within medium. They can be activated free for a move or a rest. So I like to be a little more aggressive with my warlord, and so this would basically shunt him to just hanging.
Right.
Determination to rest that off, and not really.
Fair
and
point.
if you're gonna move up, you got to spend a die. So it kind of works against you. I think if you want your warlord up there and you want to be aggressive with him, so I wouldn't. You could make the case for whatever. So I would take the warlord, the normal one for the Romans, but you could see. What is it, Tribune or the other guy with 2 wheelbays?
Wow.
And then this is like a third,
awesome.
one. Because you don't want to get up fight with him anyways.
No.
So you could be super, super efficient if you like that. If you like that Tribune guy, which I think he's fine, but not my jam.
Just don't get poached. That's a disaster if he goes down.
Okay, so now we're gonna get to the meat here, the stratagem.
Yes.
So there's a few more of these than the other ones. I think there's, what is there, 8 veteran, 8 preparation, and it looks like 9, 11, 16 maybe of these stratagems here. And so these are going to be used at 1 point during the game, 1 use only.
Yep.
So we both got 5 points worth of these. What was the first one you went for?
So I mentioned I paired it with my warlord, and my thinking is, since Paragon means my warlord needs to get stuck in, and there's always that moment in Saga where like your warlord looks at a soft target and they're like, "Oh, 2 warriors, I'll go clean that up." And you punch them and they roll 2 hits and you save none of them. And now your warlord is exhausted, right? So I have that in my mind. So I paid for Last Ditch. Use this card when one of your exhausted units is charged. Increase its armor by 1 during the ensuing melee. That feels perfect for a warlord because my armor went from a 5 to a 6. And even if they're throwing loads of dice, I think most players will spend at least one of my fatigues to take me down to a 5, hoping to push through, 1/3 hits. And that means I've given my warlord a good chance of getting out of being killed when he gets hit as an exhausted poor warlord.
Awesome. Well, Monty, I also chose Last Ditch as well. So, yeah. Your units will be exhausted in a game of Saga.
Yes.
So, yeah, you could think Warlord, obviously. I can't take an elephant, but this would be perfect for the elephant as well.
Good one.
I'm thinking, and this is kind of part of that play with the Hearth Guards. Be aggressive with the Hearth Guards, and this will kind of negate one of the fatigues on them if they want to come in. And with the Romans, they can do the auto hits as well with the Hearth Guards. It didn't see much. Nobody wants to eat those, so... that's why I kind of picture, some kind of play built around that. Then you can even, using for warrior, you see at some point it's going to make a little bit of difference. And if you go from armor 5 to 6 is great, but at some point going from 3 to a 4, or, if everything's hinging on these guys, these warriors making it through. Yeah, it's a good one. All right. So we're two for 2 here. I got
nice.
How many more do you have?
I have one last one. Okay.
You have one more?
So that should be a 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I have 4 1-point ruses and 1 2-point ruse.
Okay. What's your next one that you picked?
I did Deluge. Use this card during your activation phase to activate a unit that hasn't charged this turn for a movement. It generates no fatigue. Once this move is over, unit can be activated again. So my thinking here is, number one, this 1-point ruse is worth a Saga die, but even better, it's worth a Saga die with no fatigue-inducing element to it. So that's super good. And there's always a point in the game, seems like there's always a point in the game when someone's out of position, someone needs to move, there's a threat to respond to, and being able to get that extra juicy move with no fatigue, I couldn't refuse spending a point on it.
All right, Monty, we're in agreement.
Yes!
I also picked Deluge.
What are the odds, dude? With all of the ruses, we have 3.
Yeah. Oh, well, we do this show together. It's either that or these ruses aren't as balanced as one would think, perhaps. But yes,
efficiencies.
So this one's good. Yeah, this is going for the efficiency play. So you could picture this. So with the Romans, I will take some javelin levy or something like that. So you could there's a play, you go in, throw the javelins and scoot off, or because you can't, if you charge, you can't move away, but if you shoot, you can still move away. But it's good. Even if you don't utilize that no fatigue part, just sometimes moving a unit is key. And so just having that in your back pocket, especially turns 2, 3, or 4, 5, or 6, you can see like trying to get a Hearthguard. You're down to one last Hearthguard. He moves off, and then you use this to move him again, no fatigue, and now he's impossible for the opponent to eliminate, because he's so far away from the battle line now. You picture a few different uses for that one. Okay, so I only have one more. So I did take a 3-pointer. So there's a few here, but what you did not. So this one will be different. What was the next one that you were considering?
Oh, that's all of mine. I did 2. I did reconnaissance, change information.
Preparation.
Yeah,
okay, yeah,
right.
I forgot about those.
That's right. I got in there, and you didn't have any preparation, right?
No, I didn't take any preparation. Okay. That's right. I forgot that you had picked those ones. So okay, you're good. So this one actually, I think is kind of following the Monty approach, but in a different way. So I took offerings to the gods.
Oh, yes.
So that's a 3-pointer. And you gain, at the start of the turn, before rolling your Saga dice, you gain 3 offering markers, and +1 for each Saga die you choose not to roll, which could be up to 3. So at Adepticon, we're using full dice to start the game in the Polish method. So it's not a 3-5 start like in years past. So I think I would just try to go for just sacrifice 3 dice to get 6 rerolls, and then you can use these at any point during the game to reroll an attack or defense dice. So it's like one little chance to sway things. I think could be good as long as you remember to use them. That's the key.
Right.
The key point, I think, with this particular ability. And now going back, I think, like those ones I picked, but you could see doing offering to the gods to ditch 3 Saga dice first turn to get those 6 rerolls during the course of the game, and then you use the change formation, so you're like not down. You got 2 free activations, so that makes up for losing some of your Saga dice. So that's the one you chose.
Right. Yeah.
So you can see a combo there.
Yeah.
To make up for it. So I don't know, if you play one game, maybe I'd say, losing 3 Saga dice first turn really sucks, so I'm not going to do it again. But that's the idea.
So Rodge, I really did look at that one, and I studied it, and it's hard without field testing it, without like testing in a game. It was hard for me to like give it a value, like as I'm going through this little exercise of like I would have to use half my ruses. So my first thought is just thinking purposes of gameplay. My warlord is getting hit, and so when would you say you have to declare your rerolls? Would you I assume you declare your rerolls before or after the first failure of your dice? Like maybe you didn't get any hits.
Oh, yeah, I guess it's not clear.
Or maybe I didn't make my saves, right? And do I just
I would say you get to see. Yeah, you get to see,
Okay.
It's not just says during the game you can discard a marker to reroll. So you can't reroll a dice until you've seen what it was.
Right.
And it's not like a saga ability or something where at step 3 you're committing to an offering or anything like that. So it doesn't say that. So I would say at any point.
Okay.
I think that's some of the power, because you could see.
Yeah.
There's key combats during every game, and sometimes you don't do as well, or if I just get one more hit here, this could be it, especially if you're like hitting on 2s or something.
Yep.
Trying to
take someone down and
do
you
that. Yes,
roll.
I'd probably do it more for hitting on twos to just get rid of those one. Yeah, so the chance of rolling another one, is really it's pretty. It's about 50-50, I find, when we're rolling ones, whether you get another one or not. But and you can see, if they're warlord or something, closing ranks. You can imagine, it's going to be a lot of points, and it could be shooting too. If you're shooting that elephant or something, and you're another chance on a 4 is pretty good.
Yeah, huge, especially if it's an important moment. So with that in mind, like I think they just went up a notch, and especially with everyone starting with full dice, like having 3 rerolls for having 3 rerolls, but being able to juice that all the way potentially to 6 on offense and defensive. But like you said, the key is the game's going. You need to like have maybe a visual or a token, so you remember, wait a minute, here's my pool, and I need to dip into these now.
Yeah, I would want to get a couple of games in just to get the reps in, and like have it consciously be part of the stratagem.
Yeah. Okay, brilliant.
For things I like that. So I think that's good. I think there's some decent ones here. A couple of fatigue ones where you don't get a fatigue if you withdraw or something like that. So I was looking at that one. I thought was pretty good. You could see if you're one of the Phalanx or Sarissa factions, the flaming projectiles to root out the enemy out of the woods.
Yes,
could be pretty good. Yeah, I mean, there's a few other ones I considered, but this way too, I'm not having to juggle like 5 or 6. You've got the veterans, and then like you picked all 1-pointers, 5 different stratagems you're trying to calculate. In your equations could be a little bit of overload. So
agreed.
I was like, this one will take some of the load off. And I'll just know I have those rerolls. So we'll see. I'd have to play a game, I guess. So if you're not going to sacrifice those additional Saga dice, I don't know if 3 would be worth it or not, to be honest. But Roma Board's pretty good, so you want little units. So you're going to have an extra Saga die or 2 over a standard force, and that one ability can activate 2 units.
So
I think you could still have a decent first turn.
I think so.
Without hampering yourself there. But what'd you think of the slave bodyguards, Monty?
Okay, so it's funny you mentioned that one. Back in the day, I used that once or twice, and I loved it. And back then, as you mentioned, we were playing not thinking we had to reveal our cards. So my buddy sees my warlord. I've kind of left him in a vulnerable position. He comes in for the hammer strike, and I play slave bodyguards, and I make all my saves, and then I laugh. He's going to get the points. But in the moment, he keeps my warlords alive. His whole turn was spent taking my warlord out. His morale is crushed. It was pretty transformational, even with the idea that I was going to be throwing him the points anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. It was fun.
Yeah, it's kind of wild. You could definitely see if you're keeping it hidden. And, has an impact there.
It was kind of crushing, right?
It's a pretty big cost giving them 5 victory points. This could be like where it's 0 ruse points. And it's an interesting idea. You could do ruses that have their like own like cost, downside built in.
Yes.
You could see building something like that. To me, this would be one of them. For free, maybe I would consider it, but that's funny. But one man's treasure, I don't know the saying. What I think is good may not be good for somebody else, and vice versa.
Yeah, and it was a fun, friendly game, and to me, it was worth it just to see the look on my buddy's face when I'm like, I'm now saving on, was it 3-ups? I guess 3-ups, or if I close ranks, you'd be saving on 2-ups.
Yeah. So, looking at these So I'm probably going to be playing Carthaginians for Adepticon. So I can say I will not be using this configuration. There's a couple other ones that look good to me, specifically with the Carthaginians. So I don't think we had quite a few. I think 3 that were the same, but I think that Paragon's pretty good. So I think those 3 that we duplicated, I think those probably actually will be. I would say probably 2 or 3 of those will be in everyone's. Ruses, I don't know. We'll leave it up to Scott. Scott's running this one, so I'll leave it up to him to compile the data. But I think there's enough, depending on your army and what you're trying to do, that a good 4 or 5 points is up for play. And then I think there's kind of 3 that we picked. I think those are better for just being 1 point. I think might be a little cheap for those ones, but we'll see. We'll roll with it. Yeah, I've just played 1 game with the Ruses. It sounds like you have more, so I'll be trying to work them in before Adepticon. So
same.
Should be fun.
Yeah.
Right. So that is it for our ruse discussion. Let us know if you've used them and which ruse is tasty, what we overlooked, but not done today quite yet, Monty, because we are going to be. Oops. Yeah, I can bring that up. We're doing it's the first paint contest of 2024, my friend.
Yes.
So if you haven't heard of these before, we give everybody basically a month. So this contest will end on January 28th. Okay. And you will take a before picture right now of your model. Get the thumbs down, Monty. Get them up. Go. So take a little snapshot of your model in front of the camera doing the while we're doing that. All right, Monty, you can throw those babies down. You'll post that on Discord and then post the finished results as well. And for this one, we're going to do one real historical figure, Monty. So this will be, for example, Harold Hardrada.
Okay.
Could be your choice. And you would choose a model that you thought represented him historically. Maybe you do a little research, maybe not. But you choose a model, with the right equipment and paint it in a historical, appropriate way. And then you'll do that, and then you'll kind of hit us with 2, 3, 4, 5 sentences about why your choice is reflected, why you chose that model, and why your paint scheme or whatever fits the bill for that particular guy. So I think the easiest thing is Gripping Beast does sell a Harold Hardrada miniature, so you could just pick that one up. I think they maybe sell a couple. And just paint that in an appropriate way, or any legendary warlord would be suitable, but it could be other people. So this has to be model usable in Saga. So it could be a warlord, could be a hero or new feud challenger. So it could be a princess if there's a lady of Saga you want to include. You could do it that way, or it could be an objective too, if you want to go to town, or the heck it would be, but could be an objective. So that's another way that you could use it. And at the end of the month, we'll take all the entries, and one random person is going to win that sweet, juicy prize from Gripping Beast, 25-pound gift certificate. And we will also choose a winner for ourselves, Monty, what we think is our favorite. So I think the quality of the information supplied will affect it. If you have a good story about the model you chose and conversions or whatever, we'll factor that in. But no more than we'll put a cap at 10, a paragraph, no more than a paragraph. Multiple pages will not be read on air. So factor that in. So I'm going to have the rules posted below in the description here if I missed anything in particular. But it's just a single model, but you're going to have to do a little extra research to get it going. So, yeah, that should be good. Monty, do you have anything likely here?
Can I say, like, I know I don't get to run in these contests, but right away, like, I thought of the Lady of Mercia, and there's just so many nooks and crannies of history that are filled with people that, like, you know, if you know something and it's your favorite story, your favorite person, times of tribulation, all that stuff, like, can influence, and also then add in there the body of all the figures, beautiful figures we can paint and use, bring it all together, your basing, your painting, boom. This is a good one. I like this a lot.
Yeah, so this will be cool. So you can, we have the legendary warlords and stuff. Yeah, I'm more interested in hearing about, this is some random Viking warlord in 800 whatever, and he died somewhere in Spain or something like that, and I've always liked that guy for whatever reason, and the model of choice should be wide open because a gripping beast dark age warrior figure is probably suitable for that Viking guy that I talked about. It's not out of the realm. He probably has chainmail, but otherwise, any historical model probably works for many choices people have in mind. So it should be wide open. And yeah, this is fun. This is a part of Saga I don't really lean into personally, and I think it's kind of reflected on the show. But when you listen to Saga Ohio, for example, with Mike DeManna and stuff, they always talk about some historical aspects to it that I never think about. So this will be fun to lean into this for once on Saga Thursday.
Yes.
But so get going on that. Looking forward to the entries there. We got a few more things here. Head on over to the Saga Thursday Discord. That's where we're going to be posting the paint contest stuff. So there is a paint contest section somewhere down in there. And of course, get on the Saga Worldwide Player Map. We're trying to get to 500 pins on here by November 1st, 2024. We are in 2024, Monty.
I know, right?
It's before the end of the year. So let's see if we can hit that. Don't forget about the Saga Thursday Patreon. We've got some enhanced prizes this year, and those will be given away next episode. So head on over there. The Saga Thursday Patreon only video last month was top 5 rules mistakes. Monty, how many of those were you guilty of?
There was one at the end. My gosh, I have to look at it. It was a long night last night, but I remember one of them. I'm like, that's an easy one to trip up on.
Yeah, so it's the top 5. I have 3 honorary mentions, and then the patrons posted another good 4 or 5 ones that were also good. So it's a good thread for a newbie to pop over there and kind of get the low-hanging fruit out of the way as far as their Saga gameplay. And coming up here in this month, still a little up in the air. So we're going to talk with Miguel Mata from Portugal and kind of hear what is going on over there. It's very interesting stuff, I have to say. And he gave me a couple documents I'll share on the Discord server when those goes up. After that, could be any number of videos. I am trying to get another battle report going, so if I can make it happen, I will get that up. Otherwise, we'll dig into the Age of Invasion faction reviews. There's a couple yet to go. I got one in the can, and so you might see that one as well. But
nice.
I do want to thank the Saga Thursday patrons: Terry, Patrick, Sean, Mitchell, Scott, Frank, DJ, and Britt. I got to update my thank you words here, but greatly appreciate Monty as well, our patron buddy. And I couldn't be doing this without you guys. Really appreciate it. And looking forward to another year of Saga Thursday. 52 episodes. Monty, are you ready?
I'm ready. Locked and loaded.
One down, 50, 51 to go. Seems like a lot when I phrase it that way. But Yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this ruse discussion, and go ahead and post below your thoughts on ruses. Doesn't seem like many people are typically using them, so if your group has used them a lot, I'd be curious to hear how it goes. Obviously, I think there's a big difference between the generic ones and the unique ones, but yeah, I think we're gonna have some fun at Adepticon this year. What do you think, Monty?
100%. It's gonna be a blast.
Yeah. All right, folks. That'll be it for this one. We'll catch you later. All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
SAGA! If you'd like to see more SAGA content, consider joining the Heathen Army over on Patreon or popping on down to the SAGA Thursday Discord server. Links below. Thanks, guys.